Welcome to the Sunday Superversive Livestream. I am your host, Benjamin Wheeler, and I'm here with my co host, Anthony Marchetta, to talk with the author, Michael F. Kane, one of the many society of people who look like Ken Dickinson, the only reference for a man with ginger hair that we have in our lives. I want to thank you for coming forth and showing us that gingers are in fact not just stamped from the same template, but in fact exist with the same soul. Because we, like Ken Dickinson, are talking about audiobooks today. How are you doing, sir?
I am good. Thank you for having me on.
Now, I know that you are the author of After Moses, um, which we will talk about momentarily. And we are here streaming with you to promote the audiobook that you're having done of it, which you have already funded.
Yes, the Kickstarter went live about a week and a half ago and took about 7 hours to get the target funding. So,
Whew.
for a first time Kickstarter, I was very happy with that. Um, and the best part is the audiobook is technically already recorded, so it should be a very fast turnaround time. I'm hoping to ship it out in November.
Absolutely. Uh, that's fantastic. For ourselves, what we recently did a Kickstarter for Pinkerton's Ghosts, and it was a struggle. But having it go so smoothly, so easily, even better. So let's start off by talking a little bit about After Moses. You've got 5 books in the series. It
Mhm.
seems to have some sort of sci-fi cowboy thing going for it, like the image shows. Why don't you talk a little bit about it?
Well, if you talk to authors, a lot of authors will say that they had this one story bouncing around in their head for years and years, and that's what finally made them sit down and write it. After Moses isn't that story. It turns out, after years of poking around at the story that I'd always wanted to write, I eventually, 7 years ago, came to the conclusion that I wasn't good enough to write it yet. And so one afternoon, I sat down and I said, okay, I'm going to write something different. So over the course of an afternoon, I basically went, what do I want to write now? And by the next day, I was writing. After Moses is a sci fi Western. It usually gets linked to other properties like, say, Firefly is the big one. That's the sci-fi Western that most modern audiences are familiar with. But sometimes people will kind of link it to Cowboy Bebop and some other little lesser known to a lot of Americans anyway. But I like to say it's a little bit like, I had a fan one time say that After Moses was like Firefly crossed with The Expanse if it got baptized. So there's a lot less postmodernism. There's some Christian characters in there. I don't market it as a Christian work. It's really not. Uh, but the short plug of it is that the title After Moses is named after the AI Moses. That there was a kind of this golden era that lasted for a century of where I asked the question, what if Skynet was the good guy? And asked, is that really very good for humanity? And the answer is, well, probably not. That's probably got some serious negative things living in this cushy free society where the AI is perfectly controls things. And then the hook is, after a century, Moses just disappears. There's an error message on every computer in the solar system, and he's just gone. And so society kind of goes into this long downward decline, and the story takes place a century after that. We follow Matthew Cole, who is, look, most people just kind of picture young Clint Eastwood in their heads. He's the lone gunman with a hidden heart of gold. He's got a spaceship,
That's all you
cruises
need.
around the solar. Exactly, he cruises around the solar system. He's a freelancer by trade, so he's a for hire mercenary, but he only takes the upstanding jobs. And times are getting tough, and over the course of the first book, he ends up having to take on a crew because things are just bad. Only it's not exactly the crew it would be your first choice if you're taking on hard, dangerous jobs. Like a lot of I call them misfits on a ship. I call the trope misfits on a ship, where you have this eclectic crew of people that all end up on the same ship traveling and having adventures. You've got a few oddballs in there that aren't necessarily the perfect crew for mercenary work, but it's a lot of fun. I styled it after old science fiction and Western serials. So what I was thinking in my head was like magazine serials, right? So the chapters are longer than normal chapters. They're more like a full short story, 6 to 8,000 words. They take you a little longer to read, but each chapter is kind of this adventure, this day in the life of the crew. And as it goes on, one string after another, you realize, okay, it's not just a serial adventure. It is going somewhere, and it wraps up in quite a big conclusion. But it's very much
Right.
follow a crew through the fall of civilization, and maybe over the course of the whole series, maybe just save it at the same time.
That's fantastic. And all 5 books are the same sort of like story arc.
Yeah, so 5 are out now. So, okay, that's the other thing. The 6th and final book comes out. I'm going to release it concurrently with the audiobook, which will hopefully be in November. I'm still working on final editing things. But yes, it follows the same crew. It's a little less of that the episodic style as it goes on, and kind of transitions more to traditional
Right.
novel in the process. But it keeps those longer chapters where you read the whole chapter in one sitting, and that's a good stopping point as the chapter. I'm personally not a big fan of the whole every 2 pages is a new chapter and a cliffhanger on every one. The
Mm-hmm.
modern thriller, just push you to read the next chapter. Okay, read it.
Right.
I'm not a fan of that. I take my time. I go a little more old school in the pacing. Uh, but yeah, so another thing, that's kind of a cool feature of the series is because it's a crew, right? Each book, has a different member of the crew on the cover, where the book kind of focuses a little bit more on them. So as I've gone
Right.
through the series, readers have as they've gotten to each new one, readers have gone, oh, it's finally this person's, this person's book. So that's been kind of a fun way to do it as well.
Yes. That is. Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's one of those things. Like when you're looking at a 6 book series like this, each one I'm sure is like 250 to 350 pages. With that kind of episodic thing, it evolves. And if you try
Hmm.
to hold on to a single style, like you're just going to stilt your own work, and that's
Oh
just
yeah,
not fun for anybody.
and it definitely escalates in scale. And the first book is a lot more these individual jobs for the crew. It's gotten a job, they're rolling into a town, they've got to do whatever the thing is that they have to do. And by the way, the story takes place just in our solar system, so it's uh, all around the moons of Jupiter, all around Mars, out to the moons of Saturn. Another key feature of the series is that Earth was lost in war shortly after Moses disappeared, after the AI just blanked out. With the economic
Hmm.
collapse, Earth started shooting at each other, and so it's just the colonies. We don't go to Earth anymore. So that's how I kind of fulfill those backwater towns out on somewhere on Europa. This little backwater town, where there's this
Right.
job that they have to go to. It kind of fulfills that western, the frontier vibe, which is so important to the Western mythos. Which is why sci-fi and westerns are so linked, by the way, is they're both tied to the frontier, or at least some kinds of sci-fi are.
Hmm.
But yeah, the first book is a lot more of these job of the week kind of ordeals. Go into town, solve a murder mystery. Oh, check out this derelict ship, figure out what's going on with it, figure out who's stealing fuel from a refinery, things like that. And later book,
Uranium rod rustling.
well, the second book, there might possibly be we're all in the bowels of cities in underground and series, and trying to chase down a nuclear weapon that's loose and being bounced around between a couple of crime syndicates. And our crew is trying to take control of it and get out of there. So there's some stake escalation as it goes on, but there's some good adventure too. I part of kind of how I part of kind of how I wrote these things is I really like thinking about the endings first. There's a lot of writers that are very much, we call them gardeners or pantsers, that they or discovery writers, where they just start writing and they see where the story takes them, right? And well, the thing about discovery writers is they struggle more with endings, and it's often they have to do more editing, and once they get there, they have to rewrite it and rework it and things like that. The opposite of that is what people call architects or planners or plotters. I'm a planner or a plot or a plotter. So for me, I am very much a let's think of the ending first.
Yes.
Here's what I have. Here's where I have to get the story. Here's what I want to do with the characters. What's the big exciting thing at the end? And now how do we get there?
Oh yeah. I mean, what?
Bomb loose underground, was the thing I was building towards. And there's some cool stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Like even though I'm definitely on the pantser side of things. I always consider the ending first and foremost. Because it's like, yeah, sure, this stuff in between is very cool, and I like, surfing on the bow of a supernova, et cetera, et cetera. However, it's like, okay, so what does the ending look like? What am I actually surfing towards? It's like if a surfer's just going out into the Pacific Ocean, I mean, we're just not seeing that guy again. Like he's gone.
But yeah, I've been writing about 7 years now, finishing up this year. I'm really excited to do that. From a professional standpoint, it'll be like the biggest accomplishment of my life, like no doubt about that. 6 pretty beefy novels. They're thick ones. So really excited to be done with it and start looking towards new things. We'll see. That's another thing too, is you start to kind of fear. It's like, oh boy, after expectations. People have expectations for endings of series, right? And so we can think of some major pop culture events that the ending didn't stick and left fans like, so I'm sitting here going, I hope everybody likes the actual answer to all these mysteries I've been seeding all along the way, because that's the answer.
Right.
You better like it, and that's the one you're getting.
I hope you understand foreshadowing here, guys, because
exactly.
This was coming a mile away.
It was the plan from the beginning. I didn't change it. Didn't change it for when people tried to guess it. I have.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this. He's not likely to hear it, but if he does, he won't know for sure that it's him. But I have had one guy put all the breadcrumbs together for one significant reveal in book 6. A reader, and he messaged me about it. And I didn't confirm or deny it, because maybe I've had a couple people messaging, but there's one guy that put together one of the big ones, and I was so proud. I was like, yes, somebody was reading. Somebody was paying attention.
That's how you know you made it.
Yeah, exactly.
So is this for all the audiobooks or just the first audiobook?
So this is just the first one. I commissioned it early in the year. Audiobooks are expensive. There's just no way around it. If you have a real human narrator, they are just not cheap, right? Because you're paying a professional per hour of finished audio. Well, I'd finally built up enough readers and enough reviews on the first book and sales in general. I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. So I went ahead and commissioned it. And really what I'm hoping to do with this Kickstarter is, and let me say it this way. I've gotten enough from this Kickstarter that I am confident I can just go ahead and get the second book commissioned to be recorded as well. So that's kind of the goal, is from the Kickstarter was get enough to justify what I already spent, so I can justify spending for the next one and keep moving forward. Because I'd like to be able to get them all. But it's going to take a couple years and some fundraising to get it done.
Oh, of course.
Because again, they are not cheap. But again, I have been very happy with this. Is my first foray into crowdfunding, and it's done well. I'm very pleased with it. So So I appreciate you having me on to kind of push it to another audience. My narrator his name is Randy McCartan. He's a retired radio DJ from upstate New York.
Oh,
Doing audiobooks is kind of his retirement career, if you will. He's good. It's sci-fi western, so I needed somebody that had kind of could do kind of a gruff, gravelly voice, with a little bit of drawl on occasion when need be. If you want to hear it, the first 3 chapters are on the Kickstarter page. And there's a little video Randy recorded kind of introducing himself as well. So the funny thing is you have probably at some time in your life actually heard Randy's voice. He's done enough commercials, even like some car commercials from people over the last number of years and during his radio career. Even like television stuff on occasion, commercial wise. But there's a good chance I've heard his voice at some point in the so that's kind of cool. He's one of those guys that has those radio commercial voices, if you know what I mean. You can kind of change it up a bit.
yeah. That's pretty great. I mean, I'm sure just with the commercials out there, some of them are just not as regional as people think they are.
That's true.
So did you plot them out for the ending of book 6 from the beginning? Is that right?
So one of the big mysteries of the series is obviously what happened to Moses, right? It's the question that everybody's going to have. And so I would say I plotted 75% the answer to those big mystery questions, the mysteries of the setting, if that makes sense. There's a few that I left myself a little bit of wiggle room so that over the process of writing that I could shift a little. And there's only one little spot I slightly shifted it, and maybe in a few years on another podcast I'll talk about some of those little things. That there's one detail about halfway through the series I was like, that's the missing piece. That's what I needed to really fix that ending up.
Right.
As far as each book though, I finished the first book and then basically wrote, let's say, a paragraph about what each book would be, if that makes sense. So a broad outline, not a whole like series outline, every book deeply outlined. I wrote about a paragraph of each so that I would have kind of the direction that I would be going in each book, to leave that, okay, that's where the next one is going, that's where the next one is going. And those stayed pretty accurate. There's some interesting
Anthony,
changes.
Could you mute yourself, please?
Yeah, sorry.
There were some interesting little changes in the setting through the years, that shifted some of the things that I'd planned, but not too much. Not too much. I was generally pretty good at taking what I was writing and directing it towards the purpose that I'd already built in, as opposed to letting the little plot bunnies that inevitably show up. Yeah, in the 5th book, there was a character that kind of popped onto the page in the 2nd chapter. She's an intelligence agent for a colony, and she wasn't there for any particular reason. She wasn't really in the outline. It was just needed by the plot. Somebody was being interrogated. And then I kind of liked her, and I was like, oh, you know what? Actually, she could fit in that spot and that spot, and she solves that problem and that problem and that problem. So those little surprises pop up, but generally I try and say, okay, how are they part of the grander plan? Where was this book going? What was this book already saying? How do they fit into that, rather than hijack it, as I've heard some people complain about? Oh, new characters showing up and they just took over the plot. And it's like, that's horrifying to me. I've got to stick too much to my structure for that.
Oh yeah, I've got things I'm thinking of right now.
Yeah.
And I hate them. And some of them aren't even like side characters. They're like main characters I just particularly hate. And it's like, no, thank you. I understand that this might be appealing to you, the author. However, I am not appealed. Like Caesar, I am going to simply throw you to the wolves and see what happens. Mm.
But yeah, so the outline was pretty much fulfilled through the whole series. I would say there's this minimal changes, minimal substantive changes in getting this whole thing written. So
Right.
looking forward to the readers that have been around for a while finally getting some of those answers to the mysteries that are posed on page 1.
Right. That's always a very satisfying part as a reader. To even though like I don't really tend to seek out those books, like some of them like Perdido Street Station, just I was around for the ride, not necessarily for the ending of the ride.
Hmm.
Even though it's an absolutely mind bender of a thing. But other books like both China Melville books, The City and the City, you're absolutely there for the conclusion. As to why like the city is so weird and overlapped on each other, and anyone who notices it's overlapped gets black bagged instantly. Um, it's like uh, anyway, it was like these things. Either you're there for the ride, and it sounds like what you do is you kind of like seduce people into the ride.
Hmm.
You have these side missions that they're going on that are maybe connected, maybe not connected, but they're fun rides.
Hmm.
And then, of course, you're actually building up to the big reveal as to
Right.
what happened to Moses.
Right, right. And of course, like I said, that's one of the main and the other one of the other main things is how do we turn around this civilizational collapse? It's like, okay, even if we know what happens, like what do we do to stop this? How do we write things? And there's been a lot of fun escalation along the way and wars started and things like that, but it's getting to the end. It's getting to the end. I'm very happy. One thing
My goodness.
you talk about lining things up. One of the ways that I like to describe it, for me, one way that I kind of picture plots is the first 2/3 of a book are often it's like setting up dominoes, 1, 2, 3, 4. Setting up all these intricate chains, and you get to the end, and you push the domino, and you watch all the dominoes start click, clack, 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 knocking over all the rest of them, setting off this show that you've shown up, and the whole show goes off, right? That's the dominoes get fall. But it's kind of on a lot bigger scale when you're to this book number 6. It's not just the one book, it's hundreds of thousands of words, the payoffs. So that's very shortly, just a couple months away. Mm, I'm hoping in maybe 3 weeks start getting ARC copies out to some people. So we're talking it's coming soon. So and get all that done so that
Very
like I said,
nice.
the audiobook and the 6th book I can release them concurrently at the same time. The goal is November. I'm not promising that if and this is for anybody that's hearing and might be interested in the Kickstarter, if if it pushes into December for some sort of editing thing, I'm gonna push the launch all the way to January because I don't want to fight with Christmas stuff. But I'll go ahead and release as soon as I have stuff ready for the Kickstarter backers. They'll go ahead and they'll get their anything that they've gotten earlier. You can pre-order the 6th book from the Kickstarter too. So even if the general public gets it in January, anybody that's backed the Kickstarter will get it everything as soon as I've got it, even if I can't quite hit those November dates I want to avoid Christmas crowding. So we'll see how it goes. There's some real world schedules involved in getting those proofs. And yeah, I see you, Heroes Guild. You're gonna get an arc. I know. I promised you one. I see him in the chat there. So that's the plan. That's the plan. 3 or 4 weeks on that.
Oh, fair enough. And it's always good to have that kind of plan. I know for a lot of people, it's difficult because it's like I promised some things with the Kickstarter backers, but I'm also behind on the main series. So it's like I'm 1 or 2 stories away from being done with that, and then I'm going to work with some of my guys to make sure that certain people are fulfilled. Like one guy's like, I want it like such and such a movie, and I'm like, you got it, but I haven't watched the movie yet. But it's like one of those things. Like it's going to happen. The main body thing is being done. I'm bringing the main series up to speed. We've got Anthony competed a mega episode that will be given to the backers. Which, speaking of Anthony,
I see he has disappeared.
Yeah, no, he's in a car, and it's like I said earlier, I'm the one who's actually suffering, no one else.
Speaking of,
hello, Anthony.
I've been having to commute a lot lately. Sorry.
Why have you been having to commute, Anthony?
Well, Ben, you see, did I tell you that I was getting married?
No, you haven't. This is the first time I've heard.
You should meet my fiance. I
should. You could. I won't tell her about that other girl you brought over when I visited you all those weeks ago. I won't tell her about it at all.
Yeah, she'd think that was weird.
Yeah. Anyway.
So there's a question in the chat for me. I'm going to take it, okay?
Go for it.
So is still planning on audio drama version. Okay, so I'm not gonna. I did the first few chapters earlier with full like sound effect. I'm not gonna do a full sound effect type pass the whole book. It would just take me so long, so many hours. I am planning on doing a light pass of a few, say, when people are talking over radios, over like comms, they're doing like a comm effect, and a few tiny things like that will be the main version released. Okay, so here's another thing. Let me say this. I'm skipping Audible. I'm one of the guys that's fed up with Audible. So it might be available through some other stores later. Initially, it will just be from my website. And so it'll be DRM free, no digital rights management. I'm actually considering did you mean the screen to switch to Silksong?
Yeah, just for visual interest.
Oh, okay. I am considering making a two versions available, not for any different price. It's just you buy it, you get it. Both ones. I'm considering making you buy that and you can get a completely clean version, because I know that some people that listen to audiobooks in cars prefer perfectly clean audio, no musical cues at the end of chapters or anything like that. So I'm considering making that second version available because it's from my website and I can do that. You buy it, you can have whichever version you want. So does that kind of answer that question? I think it kind of does. There will be, if speaking of audio drama, one of the stretch goals that we hit. So in Universe, there's this radio drama. Since, excuse me, I'm at the tail end of a head cold. There's this in-universe radio drama that some of the characters listen to. Because as with the fall of technology, there's not bandwidth for excuse me. There's not the bandwidth for video transmission across the solar system. It's really expensive. And so the primary entertainment is radio dramas. And so starting at the second book, there's this radio drama named Splendid Sam that's mentioned throughout the series in books 2 through 6. And so one of the stretch goals is I'm going to have my guy record an episode of this radio drama, Splendid Sam. Now, Splendid Sam is very much like a Flash Gordon, like a 1940s style radio serial. For that, I'm going to do full sound effects, and it's probably going to be cheesy. Like I'm going to make a cheesy script. It's like I said, it's going to be Flash Gordon, so it should be a lot of fun. But the backers will get first access to that before it eventually goes public.
That sounds awesome.
Excuse me.
It's all right. Why don't
Tell into
you?
the head cold.
Oh, I felt something similar myself. Why don't you take a minute and I'll entertain. I do like that sort of thing, especially since it's kind of a lost art. A lot of people just kind of don't get it. The things that you have to kind of pay attention to and whatnot, because it's more than just doing some sort of how do I want to put it? Yep, it's more than just some sort of, like, oh, we're just reading it out. It's like, no, you have to have proper actors. People, back in what is the time? I'm trying to remember. Like when the radio drama was pretty big, 1930s and 40s and stuff like that. You had vaudeville in decline. Excuse me. And you had a whole lot of other stuff just kind of, how do I want to put it? Like operas and stuff like that aren't necessarily as more popular as they used to be. They're starting their transition into being upper class. So you had a very large amount of people who, craved this sort of entertainment. And then they also bought radios because middle class and all this jazz. And then, you it just works out in that sort of way, I guess I'd say.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's going to be fun. I'm thinking I'm going to source a few more voices for it. I'm going to keep the main narrator for probably the main character for Splendid Sam himself, but I'm thinking I'll probably grab a couple more voices for some side parts. And the goal is going to be a little bit hammy, a little bit cheesy. Have some fun with this, and it'll be something that hopefully, longtime fans are going to go, "Oh yeah, Splendid Sam, I know exactly what you're doing there." So we'll see how that goes. But that'll be sometime in next year. I'll take care of that once I've got all the main stuff taken care of coming up. Another cool thing I'm doing with the Kickstarter, one of the items is you've probably seen him around on Twitter, Elijah the Middleborn. He makes those wooden swords. Yeah, he's doing a custom bookmark for the series, a hardwood bookmark for the series. So that's another one of the Kickstarter items that'll be available.
That's really cool.
As well as some other little loot things. People love stickers. I don't really get it, but when I polled people months ago, they're like stickers. Everybody likes stickers. I don't get it, but the people spoke, so we're doing some stickers. So it's going for about 2 more weeks, 17 days, 2.5 weeks, 17 days. It's at that slow middle part of the campaign, but that is where it is at. So
excuse me, I took a bite at the wrong time. I'm barbecuing.
no.
So I I wanted to eat it while it was still fresh.
Got it.
It's important. And we know quite a few voice actors. Son of Sonic comes to mind. I'm sure you've seen his.
I'm familiar with him. Yeah, I've talked.
Yeah.
I've interacted with him a little bit on Twitter.
He's great. I've worked with him personally. Always want to promote friends on our shows and whatnot. There's
that reminds me of something else I was going to do. Something else I'm going to do for this Splendid Sam is I'm going to do a couple of in-universe ads. So like the ads that would they're like sponsoring the radio drama.
So like Garzonk blast holdout pistols.
Right.
Betters holding you down.
Well, one of the main ones I'm going to do is if you've read After Moses, cherry soda comes up. The main character drinks cherry soda. And that's kind of a plot thing. There's kind of a reason that cherry soda is what he orders when he walks into a bar. So I'm gonna have to do a cherry soda ad as part of that. So that'll be something else that's fun that just kind of helps tie the universe together into something that hopefully readers will know and recognize.
You're familiar with cheer wine?
Not offhand.
Mm.
It's quite good. It's a type of cherry soda.
Oh, okay. I'm hearing some distortion. I don't know if that's on my end or
It
am I
is.
here?
It's always is.
Okay, just
But
making sure.
yeah. Don't worry. I'm throwing him under the bus. Uh, the no, cheer wine is fantastic. It's mostly on the East Coast. But it's like cherry, but not like aggressive cherry, which I enjoy. So it's like it's softer and better than cherry Coke, is what I'm trying to say. But it's not quite Coke, cherry Coke.
What's funny is something that people often ask is like, how much of the main character is you, right? Because you get that question a lot as a writer is, did you just write yourself as the hero basically? And the answer is no, not really. Matthew Cole's a whole lot cooler than me. I mean, there's some ways that he's a little similar to me. He's kind of a bookish guy, but really he's a lot cooler than me. But I was going to say about cherry soda that yeah, I hate it. I don't like cherry soda at all. I have no idea what even possessed me, like, to choose cherry soda over anything else I could have to fill the spot that I might like too. But no, I don't like cherry soda. It's just too sticky sweet.
Yeah, I mean it is sweet. The like it's like I'm looking at it, uh, and it's like it's actually kind of expensive to get. At least shipped to me. Because it's like $18 plus for a 6-pack. I just want my cheer wine. It's every year I go to a certain place on the East Coast, and that's one of the things I just drink too much of. Let's see here. Have a red coal ad for outer space for space age heaters.
I think that's supposed to be cola.
No. So the Shadow was famously supported by coal, blue coal.
Oh,
As a
gotcha.
parody of it, red coal.
Gotcha. Okay. No, I would have missed that reference. Sorry.
So I guess Merg, I know we just kind of talked about it, but so like you're saying that there's not going to be a explicit audio drama after Moses.
Right, not a full not full sound effects. No, not this time. I have enough background in audio equipment and stuff like that to do the editing. But I figure it would probably take me. I'm doing some math. I figure it'd probably take me like 100 hours of work.
Yeah, that's kind of
maybe more. I just can't justify the time for the benefit to do the whole thing as full
yes.
Fun sound effect and background ambient and all that stuff. So maybe at a later date, if I find some more success and I can pay somebody to do it, I would love to do things like that. But
Yes.
that'll have to be a little later stage. I'm happy enough to be able to just to justify the audiobook right now. So
right. Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like you gotta be smart about it. Like we're well beyond the time of civilization for guys on our side, where it's like, oh, I could promise the moon and get all this money in, and it's like, no, Comicsgate is years ago now. It's done.
Yeah,
You can't.
for writers and Kindle, that golden era was probably right when people got the ability to self-publish to Kindle.
Yep.
Some of the guys that began self-publishing, what was that, like 2012 or something like that? I don't know the
Yeah.
exact year, but at that time, when it wasn't a million or more books being dumped on Amazon every year, there wasn't the crowding problem. There really was, for a brief period, this window of if you build it, they will come.
Yep.
And there's some guys that, I mean, I don't begrudge them, right? Like, it's like,
Right.
good for them. They were at the right place at the right time. It's not
Yeah.
that way for the rest of us.
Like,
Uh,
yeah, and it's
the,
like the
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 rest
the
of us build
whales are
our
different.
audience. The rest of us build our audience one desperate flailing attempt at marketing at a time. For me, it's mostly having some fun on Twitter. There's other little side things I try sometimes, but for the most part, it's Twitter for me.
Yes.
Because that doesn't cost anything.
Yes. Well, it could certainly cost something. Don't you want those sweet, sweet Elon bucks or whatever?
They're not the worst.
Yeah.
It's not the worst thing. I do have the check mark because, let me tell you, I like being able to edit my tweets. I am very
Same.
typo prone. If anyone, Heroes Guild Publications already left, he would definitely rag me. I'm very typo prone. So
Yep.
it's been very good for me.
Some of my best posts have just typos in them, and for a while there, I just started adding a random typo, and it's just same quality posts, same interests. Some of the typo ones just got more interest than the non-typo ones. I couldn't tell you why.
But yeah, let's see, what's Merck say here? Shudder to think what would happen if Amazon decided to be a publisher. Yeah, so I suspect they would just be recruiting from the indies that do really well.
Yep.
Which there's some variety in the indies that do well, but there's a few categories, that just clean up right now. It'd be in the romantasy and the erotica and stuff like that. Those are the ones that clean up. At this point, Amazon is really it's for most indies, it's a place to sell your books. I know you're like, well, that seems obvious, but it's not a place that sells your books. It's not a place that's good to browse. It's not a place to shop anymore. It's not a good place to shop for anything. Because you search for anything and there's 50 cheap Chinese junk versions, right?
Yep.
Right. So you go to books, it's the same way. It's just filled with so much junk that they don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's to sell a book. And so you have to sell it. So for most authors, Amazon is just a place where the currency is exchanged, which is why, I've really spent this year getting my website up and going so that I can sell direct. You can buy ebooks from me direct. You can buy the hardbacks direct. And it's been worth it for me. Now, obviously, it's not worth it for everyone. I had a previous job where I was working at a small online retailer. So I had a little bit of experience with the workflow of, selling and shipping and things like that. But it's nice to be sort of out of under the thumb of Amazon. You can go on my website and buy the first 5 books for $20, basically buy 4, get 1 free. As opposed to, buying them all on Amazon. And that's, the other reason of me really wanting to sell myself is so that the audiobook wouldn't be lost on those platforms as well that offer terrible royalty rates for authors. I'll be able to sell the audiobook direct. Amazon, for anybody that's listening and doesn't know, Amazon, if you do not agree to be exclusively on Audible, you will get a maximum of 25% royalty from a sell. Right. Maximum of 25%. There's some other stuff going on involved with the Audible Plus streaming subscription thing that they've got now, which is really altering the math of what everybody gets. It's basically theft.
Yes.
So I've gone to the work to be able to offer it direct. I know I'll make less sales that way, but when I make 5 times the amount per sale that I would from Amazon, it'll help cover a little bit of that.
Oh yeah. And quite frankly, I've never trusted the numbers that they provide anyway.
Exactly. It's not transparent. There's no transparency on what it is either. So I made the decision, before I even had the book commissioned, is like, I'm not going to do Audible. Okay, DJ Schreffler, I know you from Twitter. He asks, is that audiobook only or any book? That is audiobook only. So Audible was actually a completely separate company that Amazon purchased and that came in and they brought in their way of doing things, and Amazon never really changed them and really just kept going basically with the same philosophy. The normal Kindle stuff, DJ, on an ebook, Amazon offers indie authors 70% of the royalty. So on the thing that is cheap and easy to produce, they offer 70%. And on the thing which costs hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to produce, they offer 25% royalty, right? It's just so backward and insane. So I don't have any issues with selling my book on Kindle. Schreffler. I don't have any issues with doing that. Like I said, they offer a good enough place for authors to sell their books and at fair rates. So no issues there. Not doing Audible. I will probably be doing Kobo eventually. Every report I hear from other indies is that Kobo seems to treat authors very well. They're kind of a smaller platform. I think they're Canadian originally, but they also have a US market. But I hear that they treat the authors well. So I'm going to be investigating them, and because I would like to offer one marketplace where someone can buy the book from, because you buy from me, you're going to get a zip file of MP3s, and you know what, it is a little bit of a pain to put them in a folder on your phone and play them and get a player and play them back. There's a few extra steps. I have a guide written up on how to do it. It's not bad, but it is extra steps. And I admit, I totally get that's annoying. And if you want your grandpa to listen to the book, he's probably not going to want to do that. So I need it to be on one marketplace. It's probably going to be Kobo, not right at launch, though. Does that answer that question for you there? Let's see, what else was there? Oh, there was one further back. If After Moses got adapted, what would your desired adaptation be? I would say, I mean, I would love high budget animated series, because I think animation is overlooked by a lot of Americans as a good tool to tell science fiction and fantasy stories. But if we had to go for live action, I would go TV, but I would want some retro style effects. So I want models built and green screens for to do like the model type for 1980s style. We can touch up a little with CGI, but let's actually have real models we're blowing up when we blow up spaceships and some stuff like that. And matte paintings. I want matte paintings too.
Yeah.
So that would be my goal. Would be television, but let's aim for some kind of 80s inspired effects that are kind of brushed up a little with CGI as necessary.
Well, it just looks so much better when it's real. Like, sure, like Star Wars CGI looked real, but they were like, yeah, we're just going to do it right. You know, like it looked good, et cetera, et cetera. But like they were willing to actually put the effort into making CGI look good.
You know, that's
It
the
just
thing
does
is
not
that
the same thing. You know,
the thing is that CGI doesn't have to look bad. You know,
Yeah.
everybody talks a lot these days about how utterly broken the Hollywood studio system is. And one of those things is that the CGI artists are really, really good, right? The best CGI, you don't even know it's CGI. But the problem is that the movies, the budgets, the time schedules, the way that the directors have this blatant, they'll film things like, oh, we'll fix it in post. You know, that's the joke. We'll fix it in post, right? But it doesn't have to be that way. It's like one of the CGI characters that everyone talks about is like the best one of the best ones ever. It's like from 2007, Davy Jones from the second Pirates of the Caribbean,
Yep.
right? You know, if you go look him up on YouTube, he looks so good,
Yeah.
right? And part of that was because they had a good actor standing in for him, so they had good reference for the artists. They filmed it in ways that the CGI that they could do CGI that would look good. It was like they were filming it with the artists in mind, with the lighting in mind that the artists could use, as opposed to
Yeah.
just filming it and the artists have to basically recreate the entire world in 2 weeks because they're on a schedule. You know, it's like everything about Hollywood is so messed up and broken. There's so many talented people within the system that are basically just getting screwed over by the completely broken studio system. I don't think there's any fixing it either, really. I don't see
No.
Hollywood coming back. That there's still going to be your one-offs, like whatever the next Christopher Nolan film is probably still going to be good because he's one of the last guys in Hollywood that knows what he's doing. Right? The whole productions know what they're doing. But so
I don't know about that. The thing I've seen for like the Odyssey and whatnot.
well, I you know, the thing I agree with what you're saying there, but so far he's the only one that I would say I'd have to give the benefit of the doubt of saying, you know what, maybe it turns out okay. I don't know what I'm seeing, but maybe it turns out okay, right? So we'll see. We'll see.
You're
I'll be
a more
very
positive
curious to
man than
see.
I am.
Well, we'll see. We will see. So yeah, what would I have after both? First choice would be high budget animation. Oh yes, we see no bean mouth. Who's saying that there? I saw that. No bean mouth, not blatantly CGI. Yeah. Yeah, definitely that. That would be my adaptation of choice, or if not, some retro style television where, you know, literally the entire thing isn't CGI and you're not spending $12 million an episode. Thankfully, you can film some models in a warehouse and find some industrial settings for a lot of the other rest of it. So we'll make it work. We'll it'll happen someday. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know about the CGI thing. It's like I remember like Space Above and Beyond, those '90s sci-fi's, just kind of looking like they belonged in space.
Right.
I guess I'd say like the starships look like starships. Babylon 5 looked amazing, imposing, you know, and it was done on technology that we're just we just don't have access to anymore. Like it's like the joke about the moon landing. You know, we can't go back to the moon. We don't know how. Like, what do you mean we don't know how? Do we just not have the rockets anymore? You know, that's it's and I don't mean that literally. It's just like you know, if we can go to Mars but we can't land anything on the moon, what do I don't know. Like it just feels that way sometimes.
Yeah, well, there's a lot that's wrapped up into that. That could be a lot of commentary.
Oh yeah, and that's probably more than what we're willing to talk about today. But to me, it's like it's kind of like, you know, I've got the memories, you know, and I went and revisited some things like Space Above and Beyond, and they still look good, you know, like it's Like, yeah, sure, they're not like Star Wars Episode 3 starfighters fight, capital ships blowing each other away over the skies of Coruscant or something, but it's still, pretty good.
It's interesting to go back and look at the prequels because, the first prequel movie uses more models than the entire original Star Wars trilogy combined.
Yes.
Right? Like everything in that movie was a model that they made. Like every ship, all the pod racers were models that they were moving around and then touched up with CGI. And
Yes.
there's a reason that movie still looks really good. It still looks and sounds really good. And there's things, the CGI parts are dated, but the stuff that was models touched up with CGI looks really good to this day.
Oh yeah.
So that's what I was saying. It's a pity. They are all those talented people in Hollywood that it's like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Yep.
They don't know how to write anymore, and they don't know how to run a business anymore, apparently. So
Yeah. Well, it's like with the writing. Like they've all hired like the worst possible people for a lot of it. And even things like BoJack Horseman parodied it with characters like Diane, who is objectively absolute shit at her job as a writer. It's it's one of those things where it's like you just can't solve it. Like it's you just can't solve it. Like you just have to like burn it down, fire everyone who needs to be fired, and then try to rebuild it from the ashes.
DJ said that he hated the pod racing scene. I will
What?
fully admit that it goes, for like purely pacing standpoint, it goes a little too long for when you talk about how movies are normally paced. I will admit that. But let me tell you something about episode 1. And I like the prequels. I will never go on with the prequel bashing. They're not the greatest movies, but I like them, right? And I think that is an important distinction, that I can separate those two things.
They're fun.
The trailer for episode 1 was the first video that I saw on the internet. And it took my dad and I was that was 1997 that first trailer came out. So I was 11, and it took my dad and I hours to download it, and then hours to figure out how to play this QuickTime file, because that was the only format it was available in on a Windows PC in 1997. Maybe it was late 98. I can't remember. It took us hours, and I still can see the first shot of the Gungans coming out of the fog into the swamp. So what I'm saying, DJ, is I was a kid at the perfect age to really, really love that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about that. He says it's a remake of Ben-Hur's Chariot Race, almost shot for shot. I have heard that. I've seen Ben-Hur, but I'm not familiar enough with it to recognize that it was that exact of a remake or homage. So that doesn't actually that doesn't actually bother me. I love Ben-Hur's a great movie. Don't get me wrong. Ben-Hur is a fabulous movie. So but I was at the right age to really like that. Okay, Merg is asking about David V. Stewart and the prequel effect. What is his position on the prequel? I know him.
I don't know.
The prequel come off better without having the same expectations of the original trilogy. I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And part of it is also that the genre of movie changes. So the original Star Wars original trilogy is very much is pulp sci-fi, because it's very much descended from Flash Gordon, right? And so the kind of movie it is very different than the prequels, which are trying to tell more of this tragic space opera, fall of a republic, the end of Rome sort of thing. And so it's a completely different genre of story too. He's so the expectations are a real thing about the prequels for sure. Let's see, sequel Disney canon are trash. 99%. There's a few odd things in it that I like. I like Rogue One. I admit I like Rogue One. Look, I'm going to say this about the old
it's very
EU
good
too.
compared.
I'm going to say
know,
this
to the rest.
about the old EU. For all the things that are very good, like Zahn and the X-Wing trilogy, there's some weapons grade stinkers from the old EU too. We don't talk about the Crystal Star or some of those, the Courtship of Princess Leia, or some of those others that were really, really bad. So that's going to happen anytime I think you have a universe that's being written by a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, I just
mean, like Timothy Zahn wrote, which by the way is a Star Wars name. Wrote the Thrawn trilogy.
uh-huh.
Who wrote the Crystal Star?
I'm gonna say it was a woman.
Vonda McIntyre. Well, first off, woman. But secondly,
Well, I mean, look, Star Wars is obviously primarily male audience, or it should be.
yes.
It was. So that's to not
Oh, I
even
see
get
the problem.
into
Right.
to not
Yeah.
even get into the obvious political and feminism weeds there.
Yes.
That there is a potential for going off the rail there that's more than when a male is writing for a male directed primarily.
No,
And the women that
bias
like it,
here in our circles is we just don't read women authors.
oh
Of course,
no,
the joke is, of course, that we've had like Jaji Lamplighter right on here multiple times.
right.
Other authors, but it's like the second you bring up it, oh, it was a woman author, it's like, oh, I knew it.
right. I shouldn't say that my three favorite books are Lord of the Rings, Till We Have Faces by C.S. Lewis, and Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Because I tell everybody that if I could write something one fraction as witty as Jane Austen writes
Yes.
Pride and Prejudice, I'd be killing it, man. If I had 1/10 the wit that woman had.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like with yeah, no, she's great. Pride and Prejudice needs to be written. I went up to somebody who was dressed like as somebody who would be in that time frame. Like she had a flowing black dress and all that jazz of a certain nature. And I went, oh, so do you like reading Jane Austen? Who? A little part of me died, like just shriveled.
That's unfortunately literacy in general at the moment.
Yeah, but
it's not great. It's not great.
The real red flag here is that she wrote Star Trek books.
No.
It's like whatever else, people could say. It's like no. That's the actual red flag. They don't mix together too well. Okay.
So that's the other thing that everyone should have been really warned about the sequels is when J.J. Abrams, who had already directed Star Trek movies, was hired for Force Awakens. Everybody should have run in terror right at that moment. That's crossing the streams in a dangerous way.
Yep, I agree. It's yeah, I just agree.
I probably don't have a whole lot longer that I can stick around. Just as a heads up.
No, I got you. Let's see here. We've talked about your audiobooks.
Yeah.
We've talked about. Why isn't it letting me alt tab? Excuse me. Let's see. We've talked about your audiobooks. We've talked about your Kickstarter. Very successful. Very nice. Let's see here.
What 2 more weeks. Go back it.
Right. Absolutely. Then books. So you're not in a position to announce the next project or anything yet, are you?
I've talked a little bit about Twitter of kind of what I'm planning. So I'll mention it. I haven't started writing. I'm kind of in a reading and daydreaming and thinking about phase. But
yeah,
I'm really thinking about something that is going to be American fantasy coded.
Yeah.
American frontier fantasy. looking at possibly some shorter novels, some more kind of pulp length novels that are kind of a love letter to the American frontier.
Right.
It's kind of what I'm noodling around. I've got some things I've kind of settled on, and some other stuff that I'm like, I'm gonna need to think about this some more. But that's kind of what I'm looking towards heading into in next year, which makes, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. You know, I just wrote sci-fi western, so I've already got the little bit of the western, the frontier, on the brain. So
Yes.
I think it'll be a fun new thing to move on to. And one other reason too is I'm kind of looking at them being shorter books, and maybe I don't have to just less interconnected and more the adventure. This is the adventure that's the river adventure, like the Mississippi, or this is an Appalachian mountain sort of thing. That might allow me to not necessarily write the whole series in one go. Write a couple, move on, do something else for a little bit, come back, do a few more when it's not I'm waiting for these deep mysteries you've been promising for years. Give me the answer. Don't write something else. You know, something that's not going to have that pressure to write the whole series in one go. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
No promises that's what it is, but I think there's a very good chance that's kind of what I'm aiming towards. So do it crossing that stream from sci-fi over into fantasy. It can be done.
Yes.
So that's what I'm looking to do. Well, I do need to head out here pretty soon, but thank you for having me on. It's fun. I appreciate you the invite. Did we lose? I only see Anthony here. Did we lose Ben?
Oh no, for once. Wow. But I was
I can't hear you, Anthony. I'm all alone. I'm all alone on your podcast.
there we go.
There he is.
Yeah, I was going to tell Ben that finally next week I will be home and should thus not cut out. So, yeah. Oh, hey, Ben's returned. Ben, entertain us, quick.
Are you there, Ben? I think he's still trying to come back.
No. We'll give him a moment, and it's like 50-50 if I die in the meantime. That's one of the pitfalls of my fiance living a solid 2 hours away. Can only visit her once every few weeks, and I end up driving home during the show.
It sounds like you need to not leave her fiance very long. I hope you're not planning on a very long engagement.
Hello.
Hey, Ben's
We're
back.
married in December, so it's not that much longer.
Okay, good.
Hey, Ben.
You just got a couple months. Oh, he's gone again. Oh, there he's back again.
Ben, no. Yeah, I've been mostly a listener on the stream, but a very much very interesting discussion. My only comment that I would make is that I do, in that whole Star Wars discussion, we've had it before, but the one thing I will say about the prequels is that I was pretty convinced by Red Letter Media's famous video. I don't think they're very good. With that said, sorry, I find them convincing. With that said, I will say this, and in defiance of some other people who I know, including Red Letter Media, I think that conceptually the prequels are more than fine. I think that they're quite good.
Oh, yeah.
I think that if it were executed better, the ideas in the prequels are very, very strong. The concept of a sort of tragic, of a fall of the Roman Republic sort of thing that is juxtaposed with the fall of this one heroic person That's a really great storytelling concept, right? Like, the only problem is I don't think the prequels did a good job at all of executing.
I take the.
But it is one thing that I do just.
Go ahead.
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I was going to say, I take the weird position that episode 1 is the best, followed by episode 2, followed by episode 3. And people that like the prequels hate that opinion because they're all convinced Sith is the best. When Sith is a very messy movie, it has some high points to it that are actually very good. But as a movie, it's much messier than the other two.
Yeah, the other point of disagreement that I have with a lot of people, and I've always stood by this, is I think that the final lightsaber fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan is really good. I always have. I still think that.
It does what it's supposed to. You know, a lot of people complain that it's not a realistic fight at all, but it's not supposed to be. It's a movie.
Of course not. Yeah.
Art. It's a work of art, and if you're watching it uncynically just there to enjoy it, you should hopefully be feeling what the filmmakers wanted you to feel in that moment. You know? And so
yeah, I mean, I will say that I agree with one criticism made, which is that the I have the high ground ending in the contest of, you know, acrobatic Jedi is really, really stupid. I've seen some unbelievable attempts by people to rationalize how this was some 5D chess move mind game by Obi-Wan, and it just was not. I just don't think that they had any idea how to end the fight. So they were like, well, I'm higher than you. It's like, yeah, I do guess if Anakin launches himself directly into Obi-Wan's lightsaber, that would do it. I'm not sure why he would do that, but I suppose in that very specific sense, yep, he does in fact have the high ground. But the rest of the fight, I think, is really quite fun. Like, I've never had a problem with it.
It's
and I know a lot of people do. Yeah.
It's also worth watching some of the behind the scenes stuff for how they created the visuals of it. It's pretty interesting because, like, some of the lava anyway is real. Mount Etna, I think, in Italy was erupting during production, and so they sent crews over to get lots of volcanic explosions and footage of lava spraying into the air and stuff like that. And so a lot of it's real. You know, surprisingly,
hey, that's very cool.
Real lava exploding behind them, you know. So that's some of it looks really good because, well, it's really real. So I do have to head out now. I will have kids that have to be getting into bed. So I was hoping to get to thank Ben, but I will have to thank you in his stead, Anthony. I see his picture is there, but he went AWOL. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
I will thank Ben.
So
there we go.
Yep.
No, it's great to have you on. This was really a Ben show, not a me show, but you were a very entertaining guest. So thank you very much. At the very least, entertaining me on the drive home.
Well, there we go. And with that, I will bid you farewell. I have to head out. Thanks.
So for our guests who are still listening, I don't control the ability to turn off the stream. That's all, Ben. So
for some reason,
you can stay or go.
It's not even telling me whether you're speaking or not, but
oh no,
super slowly. So if you guys can hear me, I'm going to apologize for all this audio problem that happened on me suddenly. I'm not sure where it came from, but I want to thank you guys for joining us, and I hope you will join us next week when we will do something else.